What is going on in Kenya today? Huh? What is really going on? We know the big announcements that came on Sunday from the Ruto administration and also from Raila Odinga about a national dialogue, bipartisan dialogue within Parliament. What does that even mean? What does it involve? We also heard Raila Odinga saying that within a week, if there's no progress, Azimio will be back in the streets with mass action. What parliamentary process takes 1 week to start seeing things moving forward? Please tell me, which one is that? Ulisikia wapi? So what is really going on in Kenya? That is the question a vast majority of Kenyans are asking. Of course, there are those, wajuaji, kirehere, who are saying, very simple, it's a handshake. Wamesikilizana. A grand coalition government, a handshake government is loading, etc., etc. But those guys, midomo zao zilifungwa when Kimani Ichung'wah said, there is nothing like a handshake. So what is really going on here? Now, let us try our best to solve this deep mystery of Kenyan politics currently. And to do this, let us go back to last Saturday, when it seems the real action started. Yeah, because I've been digging around, trying to find out, where were these gentlemen in those hours? What were they doing? What happened in the back rooms of the high and mighty? What happened in the corridors of power? So let's start with Saturday. Multiple sources have confirmed to me that there was at least one telephone conversation between Ruto and Raila on Saturday. Other unverified sources tell me there were several telephone conversations. Now, this is more than a little strange, because by Saturday, both sides of the political divide were preparing for a Monday of action. That's really what it is. There were several members of the security forces coming in truckloads into Nairobi, mostly from Gilgil, Naivasha, Nakuru, those sides. The government had a plan to deal with the peaceful Azimio demonstrators. On the other side of the political divide, Azimio had their own very elaborate plans on how to counter the response by the government side. So both sides were very busy preparing for Monday. So this Saturday calls was strange. But if Saturday was a little strange, Sunday was very strange. At least two sources I trust have assured me that on Sunday there was a meeting between Ruto, Raila, and, wait for this one, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. What? Now, what I have not yet been able to confirm up to the time I came in for this recording was whether this meeting was physical or via technology. Because it's very easy these days to have a meeting online. You can have either audio alone, which you only need your phone for 3 people to speak, or you can have a full audio-visual teleconference. It's possible. But I don't think that is the issue. The issue here is that the 3 met. To discuss what? All these discussions, I'm being told, were centered on the Monday demonstrations, or the demonstrations that had been scheduled for Monday. You see, both sides of the political divide had earmarked Monday to assert the authority, to score points, to win. And it seems that what happened here is that an outside force, very powerful, came into play, yeah, and forced the two sides to talk. Now, usually I pick my words very carefully, yeah, so I want to qualify using the word force. You see, at such a high level of leadership, what usually happens from outside forces is what they'd like to call persuasion. They persuade you. Okay? Now let me give you the perfect illustration. Our neighboring country of Tanzania had a president not too long ago called JPM, President John Pombe Magufuli. And some people thought that he was being persuaded to go into a certain direction. Yeah. But it later became clear that he was not being persuaded. Yeah. When John Pombe Magufuli left us. Okay, I'm sure you get my drift. Folks, hii dunia iko na wenyewe. Yeah, just get that very clearly. I know you may not believe me. Lakini ndugu zanguni na dada zangu, hiyo ni ukweli ambao umetolewa suruali. That is nothing but the naked truth. And of course, some of these outside sources may not be very familiar with our situation locally. Hence this very curious meeting. Because under normal circumstances, you would expect a retired president, a president who has left office, to be a calming factor, yeah, for politicians, even presidents and leaders of opposition parties, to be a calming factor for those two in some negotiations. But is that the situation in Kenya? No, it isn't. Because since the UDA regime took over, one of their pet subjects, they talk about it every day, is Uhuru Kenyatta this, Uhuru Kenyatta was bad, Uhuru Kenyatta messed, Uhuru Kenyatta left empty coffers at the treasury, etc., etc. There is a lot of animosity. And at the same time, the retired president is very close to Raila Odinga. So that is a key clue telling us that this thing was being directed by somebody who may not be very familiar with our current situation in the country. Now, in the course of Sunday, yeah, something happened during this meeting that changed everything. And whatever it was that happened caused President Ruto to come out and make a speech. And when you looked at the president carefully, he was not himself. Just review the videos. That is the truth. Whatever it is that happened also caused Azimio leaders to appear at a presser looking very shaken. What? And the result is what we have today. Something that does not make sense to keen observers. Yeah. Which parliamentary process is that? That it will take only 1 week for you to be able to judge whether it's going right or it is going off track. Which one is that? In many instances, it takes longer than a week just to agree on the participants. As we have already seen very clearly, within this bipartisan parliamentary grouping, there is something that will be called National Parliamentary Dialogue Committee. And there are concerns, actually very strong opposition, to the inclusion in that committee of characters like Gaucho, yeah, the President of the People's Parliament, Robert Alai, a well-known blogger, General Nuru Okanga, Babu Wino, etc., etc. The UDA chaps were very nervous about having these guys on the Azimio side on this National Dialogue Committee. Now, don't ask me what that is. I have no idea. I don't know what this animal called bipartisan, I have no idea what it is. Yeah. Of course, I understand a little English, and I know when you say parliamentary, you mean it is legislators involved. But I don't know anything more than that. And I believe there are very few Kenyans who have an idea what this is, this animal, this strange animal, and where it is going, and how it will operate. And even as all this is unfolding, it is very clear that those close to Raila Odinga on the ground, people like WIB No, have come out with statements that suggest it is not over. In fact, they tell us clearly it is not over. Because the way they are talking, the demonstrations are still on, but they've just taken a break. Half-time, as Raila would put it. That is the way it looks from where I sit. An MP from Western Kenya has even said what is on the minds of many Kenyans, that he doesn't trust Ruto. He doesn't. He doesn't believe from his track record Ruto has any intention of reforms or any intentions of introducing things that will help the country called Kenya. Yeah. And of course he's looking at the track record of President Ruto. Because you can't run away from who you are. And who you are is what you have done in the past. That is the truth. And so all this causes us to zero in on one character and one character alone. Raila Amolo Odinga. What is he up to? What is Bob up to, really? And to make things worse, maybe even stranger, is the fact that those close to the leaders of both sides wamenyamaza kama mtungi ya maji. Their silence is deafening. Yeah, they're not saying anything. And it gets even more bizarre with Senator Ledama's tweet suggesting that what has happened may have had very little truth in it. What does all this mean? Now, in my latest weekly intelligence briefings number 104, I speak about the super sensitive things behind the scenes that may hold the answers. Yeah, not all the answers, but maybe some of the answers. Yeah, you can see details on the screens right now. In case you're not yet a member, please take action right away. Yeah, this deal isn't bad. It's not as good as the deal that has just ended, but it's not bad either. Take full advantage and let me see you on the other side. Yeah, this particular WIB is being released within the next few hours. Okay? And I'm calling this offer, yeah, very appropriately, the car radar offer. Because as Kenyans, the message right now should be very simple. My friend, my fellow Kenyan, car radar. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha. Let me just give you a small illustration. Somebody robs you. Now, how are you going to sit down and negotiate? Are you going to negotiate so that the person who stole from you keeps half your property, or maybe 60% of your property, maybe even 20% of your property? Are you going to carry out that kind of negotiation? It's complicated. There are a few key points that came out from what he said that Kenyans must take very careful note of, because they're important. Number one, Raila said that Azimio reserves the right to resume the demonstrations in a week if there's no progress in the talks with Ruto and his administration. That's very important. It means, like the great leader he is, Raila is giving talks a chance. You know, it is super fascinating. A lot of the people who are angry, the Azimio supporters, have never participated in a single demonstration. They are armchair protesters. They are never there on the streets taking the heat. and yet they're annoyed. They want other people to risk and take the heat on their behalf. Don't you think that's very unfair?